You can't actually read minds. But you can read people. Every thought creates a signal. Every emotion leaves a trail. Every intention shows up in the body before it shows up in words. Most people miss these signals completely. They listen to what's said and ignore what's shown. But once you learn to see the patterns, the microshifts, the unconscious tells, you know what people are thinking before they say it. This is the art of reading minds. Chapter 1. Stop believing what people say without watching what they do. Words lie. Actions don't. That's the first truth of reading minds. And most people get this backward their entire lives. They believe the smile. They trust the promise. They accept the excuse. And they get burned. Over and over. Because they are only paying attention to half the conversation. Every interaction has two layers. What people say, and what their body says. And when those two layers don't match, the body is always telling the truth. Think about the last time someone said, "I'm fine," but clearly wasn't. You knew. You felt it. Not because of their words, but because of everything else. The tight jaw. The forced smile. The shoulders that wouldn't relax. The voice that came out just a little too flat. That feeling you had? That's your brain picking up signals. Micro movements. Tone shifts. Energy changes. Things most people aren't consciously aware of. But your subconscious catches them. Every time. Here's the problem. Most people ignore those signals. They trust the words instead. They want to be polite. They don't want to push. So they accept the lie. And the truth stays buried. But people who read minds don't do that. They pay attention to the incongruence. The mismatch between words and behavior. And they know that mismatch is where the real message lives. Your job is not to become paranoid. Not to assume everyone is lying. Your job is to become observant. To notice when something doesn't add up. When the energy shifts. When the story changes. Here's the shift. Start watching people's baseline behavior. How they act when they're relaxed. When they're comfortable. When they're being honest. That's your reference point. Your calibration. Then notice when they deviate from that baseline. When their voice changes pitch. When their gestures get stiff. When their eyes start avoiding yours. Those deviations are signals. And signals reveal thoughts. Most people's baseline is consistent. When stressed, they touch their neck. When lying, they look down and to the left. When uncomfortable, they cross their arms. These aren't universal truths. They're individual patterns. And once you know someone's patterns, you can read them like a book. But you have to watch first. You have to collect data. You can't read someone you've never observed. Think about detectives, therapists, negotiators. The best ones don't just listen. They watch. They notice the pause before the answer. The hand that suddenly goes still. The smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And they know those details mean something. You can develop this same skill. But it requires you to slow down. To be present. To stop planning your next sentence and start observing theirs. How many times have you trusted someone's words only to realize later they were hiding something? How many times did you ignore your gut because you wanted to believe them? Starting today, trust behavior over words. When someone says one thing but their body says another, believe the body. Because the body can't rehearse, can't perform, can't hide what the mind is really thinking. Chapter 2. Learn to read micro-expressions before they disappear. The face is a broadcasting system, and most people have no idea what they're transmitting. Because micro-expressions happen faster than conscious control. A micro-expression is a flash of emotion. It lasts less than half a second, and it reveals what someone is really feeling before they have time to mask it. You see it all the time. The flicker of disgust before someone agrees with you. The flash of fear before someone says they're confident. The brief tightening of the lips before someone smiles and says, "No problem." These flashes are involuntary. They are the brain's honest reaction. And they happen before the person decides how they want to appear. Most people miss them completely because they are not looking. They are waiting for their turn to talk. They are thinking about what to say next. They are distracted by their phone or their thoughts or the noise around them. But micro-expressions are gold. They are the difference between being fooled and being informed. Between believing a performance and seeing the truth. Here's how you start. Watch people's faces when they receive information. When you ask a question. When you deliver news. When you challenge them. Their first reaction, the one that flashes before they compose themselves, that's the real one. Happiness shows in the eyes. Not just the mouth. A real smile crinkles the corners of the eyes. A fake smile stays in the mouth. Tight. Controlled. Performed. Anger tightens the jaw. Lowers the eyebrows. Flares the nostrils. Even if someone stays calm and speaks softly, you'll see anger flash across their face for a split second before they control it. Fear widens the eyes. Raises the eyebrows. Opens the mouth slightly. It's an instinctive reaction. The body preparing to react. And it happens before the brain can suppress it. Disgust wrinkles the nose. Raises the upper lip. It's the face we make when we smell something rotten. And people make it when they hear something they morally reject. Even if they don't say it out loud. Contempt is the deadliest. It's a one-sided lip raise. A smirk. And it signals superiority. Disrespect. Dismissal. When you see contempt in a relationship, that relationship is dying. Even if both people are still smiling and being polite. Surprise shoots the eyebrows up. Widens the eyes. Opens the mouth. But here's the key. Real surprise is instant. Fake surprise comes late. If someone acts surprised 2 seconds after hearing your news, they already knew. They are just performing. The more you practice watching faces, the faster you'll catch these flashes. And once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. You'll notice the disconnect. The gap between what someone's face is saying and what their mouth is saying. Here's a practice exercise. Watch interviews with the sound off. Just watch faces. Try to guess what emotion the person is feeling. Then rewind and watch with sound. See if you were right. Do this 10 times. 20 times. Your brain will start recognizing patterns. And those patterns will become automatic. Another exercise. Watch people in public. At a coffee shop. In a meeting. At a party. Don't eavesdrop. Just observe faces. Watch reactions. Watch how faces change when someone says something surprising or uncomfortable or exciting. The face is always reacting. Always broadcasting. And if you learn to read it, you'll know what people are thinking before they finish their sentence. How many times have you been lied to and only realized it later? How many times did you miss the signal because you weren't looking? Starting now, watch the face first. Words second. Because the face tells the truth in the first half second. And the mouth decides what to say in the second half. Trust the flash. Not the performance. Chapter 3. Decode body language patterns, not just isolated gestures. One gesture means nothing. A cluster of gestures means everything. That's the difference between guessing and reading. Most people see crossed arms and think, defensive. But crossed arms could mean cold, comfortable, thinking, or yes, defensive. You can't know without context, without other signals, without the full pattern. Reading minds through body language requires you to look for clusters, multiple signals that align, that tell the same story. And when 3 or 4 signals point in the same direction, you are no longer guessing. You are reading. Let's say someone crosses their arms. That's signal 1. Then they lean back. Signal 2. Then they avoid eye contact. Signal 3. Then their feet point toward the door. Signal 4. Now you have a cluster. And that cluster says, discomfort, withdrawal, exit intention. They don't want to be here. Even if they're smiling and nodding and saying, yeah, sure. But if someone crosses their arms, leans forward, makes eye contact, and their feet point toward you, that's a different cluster. That's engagement, interest, focus. The crossed arms aren't defensive. They're just how this person sits when they're listening hard. See the difference? Context matters. Baseline matters. Clusters matter. Here's another cluster. Someone touches their neck, clears their throat, blinks rapidly, shifts weight from foot to foot. That's stress, anxiety, discomfort. Something is making them nervous. And you just learned that without them saying a word. Hands are powerful signals. Open palms suggest honesty, openness, nothing to hide. Clenched fists suggest tension, anger, suppressed emotion. Hidden hands, in pockets or behind the back, suggest guardedness, insecurity, something they don't want you to see. When people lie or feel conflicted, their hands often go still. Because the brain is working overtime, managing the lie, monitoring your reaction, controlling the face. And it can't also manage natural hand gestures. So the hands freeze or hide. Feet are the most honest part of the body. People rarely think about their feet. So feet tell the truth. When someone's feet point toward you, they're engaged, interested, present. When their feet point toward the door, they want to leave. Even if their body is facing you and they're smiling and nodding. In group conversations, watch feet. People's feet point toward who they are really paying attention to, toward who they respect, toward who they are attracted to. Feet don't lie. Posture tells you about confidence. Confident people stand tall, shoulders back, head up. They take up space. Insecure people shrink, hunched shoulders, downward gaze, hands folded in front of the body. When someone suddenly changes posture, that's a signal. If they were relaxed and suddenly stiffen, something shifted. Something made them uncomfortable. Something triggered a defensive response. Mirroring is another powerful pattern. When two people like each other, trust each other, or feel connected, they unconsciously mirror each other's posture. One leans in. The other leans in. One crosses their legs. The other does too. This is rapport, synchrony, connection. And when mirroring breaks, when one person suddenly shifts away, connection just broke. Trust just cracked. Something changed emotionally. How many times have you felt uncomfortable around someone but couldn't explain why? It was probably their body language. Too close, too stiff, too much eye contact, too little. Your body picked it up, even if your mind didn't name it. Starting now, look for clusters, not just one signal. 3, 4, 5. Watch how signals align, how they tell a story together. Because one gesture is just noise, but a cluster is a message. And once you learn to read the message, you know what someone is thinking without them ever saying it. Chapter 4. Master the pause and hear what silence reveals. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. Full of meaning. Full of signals. Full of truth. And most people are terrified of it. So they fill it. With words. With noise. With anything that makes the discomfort go away. And in doing so, they miss the message silence is trying to send. People who read minds know that silence is one of the most powerful tools in any conversation. Because silence creates pressure. And pressure reveals truth. When you ask someone a question and then stay silent, something happens. They feel the need to fill the space. To explain. To justify. To keep talking. And the more they talk, the more they reveal. Here's the technique. Ask your question. Then stop. Don't interrupt. Don't rush. Don't fill the gap. Just wait. And watch. Watch their face. Their hands. Their body. Watch how they handle the silence. If someone is comfortable with silence, they'll pause. Think. Then answer calmly. But if someone is uncomfortable, guilty, or hiding something, they'll rush to fill the silence. They'll over-explain. Add unnecessary details. Talk themselves into a corner. Silence also reveals hesitation. When someone pauses too long before answering a simple question, they're not remembering. They're deciding. Deciding what to say, how much to reveal, what version of the truth to tell. And that pause tells you everything. That something is being calculated. Something is being hidden. Something doesn't add up. Most people miss this because they're already thinking about their next question, their next point, their next argument. But when you stay present in the silence, you catch the hesitation, the calculation, the lie. Silence also forces people to confront themselves. When you don't argue back, don't defend, don't react, they're left alone with their words. And sometimes, in that aloneness, they realize how weak their argument is, how irrational they are being, how wrong they are. But if you engage, if you fight back, you give them someone to blame. You give them a target. And the fight continues. But silence ends fights. Not by avoiding them, but by refusing to feed them. In negotiations, silence is leverage. The person who speaks first after making an offer loses. Because speaking shows need, desperation, lack of confidence. But staying silent shows strength, patience, control. Here's another use for silence. Listening. Real listening. Most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. But when you stay silent, truly silent, you hear more. You notice more. You understand more. Silence creates space for the other person to go deeper, to say what they didn't plan to say, to reveal what they were holding back. Because people can't stand prolonged silence. They'll fill it. And what comes out is often the truth they were trying to hide. How many times have you talked yourself into trouble? How many times did you fill a silence and regret it later? Starting now, embrace the pause. Ask your question. Then stop. Wait. Watch. Let the other person fill the space. And when they do, listen to what they reveal. Because silence doesn't hide truth. Silence reveals it. Chapter 5. Recognize emotional leakage in voice tone and speech patterns. Words are chosen. Tone is automatic. And that's why tone reveals more than content ever will. You can rehearse what you are going to say. You can plan your words. Choose them carefully. Craft the perfect sentence. But you can't rehearse tone. Not completely. Because tone is controlled by emotion. And emotion leaks. When someone is stressed, their voice goes higher. The vocal cords tighten. The pitch rises. Even if their words sound calm, their voice betrays the stress. When someone is lying, their voice often cracks. Or they clear their throat. Or they swallow hard. Because lying creates cognitive load. The brain is working overtime. And that strain shows up in the voice. Listen for fillers. Like. You know. These are stall tactics. The brain buying time. When someone uses too many fillers, especially in places where they should have a clear answer, they're either lying or unsure. Pace reveals emotion too. Fast speech often signals anxiety, nervousness, excitement, or an attempt to rush past a topic they don't want examined. Slow, deliberate speech signals confidence, control, or calculation. When someone suddenly changes pace, that's a signal. If they were talking normally and suddenly speed up, something made them uncomfortable. If they slow down, they're choosing their words carefully. maybe too carefully. Volume shifts are telling. Raising the voice signals emotion, anger, defensiveness, passion. Lowering the voice signals shame, secrecy, vulnerability, or manipulation. When someone drops to a whisper in a normal conversation, they're either sharing something they don't want others to hear, or they're trying to create intimacy, to pull you in, to make you lean closer. Pauses matter too. A pause before answering can be natural. People think before they speak. But a long pause after a simple question is suspicious. That's not thinking. That's stalling. That's constructing a response instead of remembering one. Repetition is another tell. When someone repeats your question before answering, they are buying time. Did I take the money? No, I didn't take the money. The repetition is a delay tactic. A moment to build the lie. Listen for distancing language. Liars often avoid personal pronouns. Instead of, I didn't do it, they say, that didn't happen. Or, it wasn't me. They are trying to create psychological distance from the lie. Because saying, I, makes it feel heavier, more real. Emotion should match content. If someone tells a sad story with a flat voice, something's off. If they express joy with no energy, they are performing, not feeling. The mismatch between content and tone is a red flag. Here's how to practice. Close your eyes during conversations. Just listen. What does the voice tell you? Is it confident or shaky? Smooth or stuttering? Warm or cold? Then open your eyes. Does the voice match the face? The body? If everything aligns, you are probably hearing truth. If things don't match, dig deeper. How many times have you believed someone because their words sounded right, only to realize later their tone was off the whole time? Starting now, listen to tone first, words second, because tone is the emotional truth underneath the verbal performance. And once you learn to hear it, you'll know what someone is really saying, even when they are trying to hide it. Chapter 6. Use behavioral baselines to spot when something changes. You can't know when someone is lying if you don't know how they act when they're telling the truth. That's why baselines matter. And why most people fail at reading minds. They see crossed arms and assume defensiveness. They see avoided eye contact and assume dishonesty. But they don't know this person's normal. Their default. Their baseline. A baseline is how someone behaves when they are relaxed, comfortable, honest. It's their natural state. And once you know that state, you can spot deviations, changes, signals that something shifted. Think about it like a doctor taking your vitals. They don't just measure your blood pressure once. They measure it over time. They establish what's normal for you. So when your pressure spikes, they know something's wrong. Same with reading people. You need to know they're normal before you can spot abnormal. Some people avoid eye contact naturally. They are introverted, shy, or just wired that way. So when they avoid eye contact during a tough conversation, it doesn't mean they're lying. It means they are being themselves. But if someone usually makes strong eye contact and suddenly can't look at you, that's a deviation. That's a signal. Something changed. And you need to find out why. Here's how to establish baselines. Observe people in neutral situations. When there's no pressure, no conflict, no stakes. Watch how they sit, how they gesture, how they speak, how they laugh, how they react to normal conversation. Then compare that to high-pressure situations. When they are challenged, questioned, put on the spot. Do they behave the same? Or does something shift? If their behavior stays consistent, they're probably comfortable, honest, grounded. But if their behavior changes dramatically, something is happening internally. Stress, fear, deception, conflict. Let's say you have a colleague who always talks with their hands. Big gestures. Lots of movement. That's their baseline. Then one day, you ask them a question and their hands go still. They sit on them. Or hide them under the table. That's a deviation. And it tells you something triggered discomfort. Or someone who normally speaks quickly suddenly slows down. Choosing every word carefully. That's not thinking. That's editing. Calculating. Hiding. Baselines also help you avoid false reads. If you don't know someone's normal, you'll misinterpret their signals. You'll assume things that aren't true. You'll see deception where there's just personality. But when you take the time to calibrate, to learn someone's patterns, your reads become accurate, reliable, trustworthy. Here's the practice. Pick 3 people you interact with regularly. Spend a week just observing them. No judgment. No analysis. Just data collection. Notice their patterns. How they act when relaxed. When stressed. When happy. When frustrated. Write it down if it helps. John touches his face when he's nervous. Sarah speaks faster when she's excited. Mike avoids eye contact when he's thinking. Then, in future conversations, watch for deviations from those patterns. When John touches his face during a normal meeting, you know something made him nervous. When Sarah speaks faster during a calm discussion, you know she's excited about something she's not saying. When Mike avoids eye contact during a casual chat, you know he's deep in thought. How many times have you misjudged someone because you didn't know their baseline? How many times did you assume the worst when it was just their normal? Starting today, observe before you judge. Establish baselines. Learn people's patterns. Because you can't read change if you don't know normal. And once you know normal, every deviation becomes a signal. And signals reveal minds. Chapter 7. Trust your gut but train it first. Intuition is real. But untrained intuition is just guessing. And guessing is not reading minds. Your gut picks up signals your conscious mind misses. Micro expressions. Tone shifts. Energy changes. Your subconscious processes thousands of data points in seconds. Then sends you a feeling. A sense that something is off. Or right. Or dangerous. Or safe. That's intuition. And it's incredibly powerful. But only if you've trained it. Only if you've fed it enough data to recognize patterns. To distinguish between paranoia and perception. Most people ignore their gut. They think it's irrational, unreliable, not based on evidence. But the opposite is true. Your gut is based on evidence you haven't consciously processed yet. Think about it. You meet someone and immediately feel uneasy. You can't explain why. They seem nice. They're smiling. They're polite. But something feels wrong. That feeling is your brain detecting incongruence. The smile doesn't match the eyes. The tone doesn't match the words. The energy doesn't match the situation. You haven't consciously noticed these things. But your subconscious has. And it's warning you. The mistake most people make is dismissing that warning. They think, I'm just being paranoid. Or, I'm judging them too quickly. So they ignore it. And later, they realize they were right. Something was off. And they should have trusted their gut. But here's the key. You have to train your gut. You have to give it experience. Data. Patterns to recognize. Because untrained intuition is just fear or bias dressed up as insight. How do you train it? By paying attention. By observing. By reflecting. Every time you have a gut feeling about someone, take note. Write it down if you need to. I felt like they were lying. I sensed they were uncomfortable. I got a bad vibe. Then later, after the situation plays out, check your accuracy. Were you right? Were you wrong? What signals were you picking up on? What patterns did you miss? Over time, your intuition gets sharper. Because you are calibrating it. teaching it, refining it. You are separating real signals from noise, real patterns from projection. Here's another technique. After every important conversation, do a mental replay. What did you notice? What did their face do? How did their voice sound? Where did their energy shift? What felt aligned? What felt off? This reflection strengthens your pattern recognition. Your brain starts learning what signals matter and what signals don't. What predicts truth and what predicts deception. Intuition also improves with presence. When you are distracted, anxious, or in your head, your intuition gets clouded. But when you are calm, grounded, and present, your intuition sharpens. You notice more. You feel more. You read more. That's why meditation helps. Why mindfulness helps. Because they train you to be present, to be still, to notice what's happening right now instead of worrying about what happened before or what might happen next. Your gut is not magic. It's pattern recognition happening faster than conscious thought. And the more patterns you feed it, the more accurate it becomes. But don't confuse intuition with bias. Bias is judgment based on fear or stereotypes or past trauma. Intuition is observation based on real-time data and experience. How do you tell the difference? Ask yourself, what am I actually noticing right now? Or am I projecting something from my past? If you are noticing real signals, body language, tone, incongruence, that's intuition. If you are assuming based on someone's appearance or background or your own insecurities, that's bias. How many times have you ignored your gut and regretted it? How many times did you override that inner warning only to find out later you were right? Starting now, trust your gut. But train it first. Pay attention. Reflect. Calibrate. Because your intuition is one of your most powerful tools. But only if you sharpen it. Only if you learn to distinguish signal from noise, truth from fear, insight from assumption. Train your gut. Then trust it. That is the art of reading minds. Not through magic. Not through guessing. But through observation. Through patterns. Through presence. The signals are always there. You just have to learn to see them. Now you know how.